Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's good to see you here and to celebrate Shabbat together. I'd like to invite you to take a moment to take a deep breath, even deeper if you're wearing a mask. Let it out. You can think about the past week. Think of something you want to take with you from this week into Shabbat, and maybe something you want to leave behind as we enter into this time of peace and rest and joy. Let's bring in some light. We'd like to invite up the Quran family to light the Shabbat candles. Jason, Kim, Joshua, and Xander. Jason is celebrating becoming bar mitzvah this weekend, and he is ready. So let's turn to the candle lighting blessing, page 2 or 120.
All right, just light them.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvoto, v'tzivanu lehadlik shel Shabbat.
We turn to Kiddush, the blessing over the wine on page 5 or 123.
You guys can all stand right behind them.
Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvoto, v'rata banu, v'shabbat kadsho, v'havu rashon hilanu, zikaron l'maaseh b'reshit, ki hu yom tehillah lemikra kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki banu l'chata, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodeshecha, ve'havahu l'ratzon, hikatanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat.
Have a sip, Jason. How is it? That's good? Okay.
It was a good
Mazel tov. You can have
vintage.
a sit down. Congratulations.
Great job.
Mazel tov.
Let's turn to page 20 or 138. Let's welcome in that Sabbath bride with the words of Lecha Dodi. We'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9, and we'll turn to the door when we get to that last verse, see if we can see her.
Hey
We turn to page 28 or 146 for the call to worship, the words of Baruch Hu. Sing our twilight prayer, Roll into Dark. Words should appear magically on your screen. There they are.
Oh, sorry. That was not the key that we normally do. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Forever dawn light, so night becomes day, day turns to night. Page 34 or 152. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. You can be seated. Elisa Coyle, who will be celebrating her bat mitzvah soon, will lead us in words of V'ahavta, page 36 or 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך תאכל בכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבבך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, ושבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אני
Elohechem, amen.
Great job. Thank you.
Page 40 or 158 are the words of Mi Chamocha, our song of redemption, our song of freedom.
יפדה אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
We'll keep singing on the next page the words of our nighttime prayer, our prayer for shelter. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom.
Adonai,
know the famous phrase of Ahad Ha'am, more than the Jewish people have kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept the Jewish people. And for all of us here and for all of us streaming, I just want to know that currently Bethlehem high school students are in Montgomery, Alabama, with Rabbi Wattenmaker on a civil rights trip and are celebrating Shabbat today in Alabama. And I also know our Introduction to Judaism class is gathering virtually, and then we'll get together afterwards to celebrate Shabbat together. So whether if you fill this room with Shabbat song and blessing, or wherever you're streaming from, what a delight it is to let Shabbat envelop our community. We'll sing the words of Vishamru, this special prayer for the Sabbath day.
Vishamru.
In the opening words of our Torah portion this week, Tetzaveh, there's a commandment that clear oil is to be brought forward for lighting. Lehalot ner tamid, in order to light regularly, to kindle light regularly. From this verse you get ner tamid, this ner tamid. But the words here mean that we're to light ner regularly. In Rabbinic Judaism, ner in this verse is a metaphor for our souls, the light of our souls. And so as we move into tefillah in these moments, this is an opportunity to kindle our souls, to light our souls each and every week. And we do that through connecting to the divine with these words that begin on page 46. Please rise.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol, HaGibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, Zocher Chasei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav Le'Hoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayeh HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Ba'al Gevurot, U'Idom Melech, Melech Memit U'Mechayev, U'Matzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
We continue privately through page 63, and when you have completed your prayer, please be seated.
This is a blessing that gives thanks for our bodies and our souls. Giving thanks for who we are, each one of us, unique. I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I
Baruch atah Adonai rofei chol basar mafli la'asut. Blessed are you, Adonai, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. And we add to that blessing, that prayer of sorts for healing, another prayer of healing in these moments, as we think of those in our community and beyond who are in need of healing on this Shabbat. We remember and consider at this time Deb Altshuler, Brian Covert, Carol Emmerich, Karen Gamaran, Mary Lou Garfinkel, Selena Glatter, Susan Carlson, Frida Height, Marion Hinden, Dorothy Hupert, Moritz Hupert, Marvin Jones, Barbara Keir, Harold Muckamal, Esra Ozturk, Rabbi Lori Phillips, George Rauschwerger, David Baruch Ben Simona, Donna Spanger, Nicole Gent Wickenheiser, and Diane Woodward. Are there other names? We join together in these words that will appear on the screens.
Psalm 147. Healer of the brokenhearted, binder of their wounds, counter of uncountable stars. You know who they are. Harofei shurei lev, umechabesh le'atzmotav, b'mispar la'kohavim, lechulam b'shemot yikra. Healer of the brokenhearted, binder of our wounds, counter of uncountable stars. You know who we are. Ana Elna Rivana La. Ana Elna
Nice. As you know, this month is Focus on Inclusion Month at Beth Am, and there are a range of programs and opportunities to learn more about inclusion and, probably even more important, do the work of inclusion throughout this month and, of course, beyond. And tonight we have a special speaker here to tell her own story about inclusion. I'm thrilled that Jackie Pelavin is with us tonight to speak, to tell her story. And Jackie and her husband, Mark Cohen, joined Beth Am in 2008. They each have one child from a prior marriage. At the time of their marriage in 2007, Erin, Jackie's child, was 7 years old, and Shayna, Mark's daughter, was 11 years old. Jackie grew up in a suburb of Chicago in a secular Jewish family. She attended college in Boston, then spent a year in Manhattan studying dance before returning to Chicago for medical school. She stayed in Chicago for her residency in urology, and she was one of the earliest women in the US to become a board-certified urologist. Jackie arrived in California in the summer of 1989 to begin work at Kaiser Santa Clara, where she ended up spending her entire career. Jackie retired almost 5 years ago, which gave her just a little bit of time to prepare for this evening. So Jackie, please.
Hi. When Rabbi Morrison invited me to speak tonight, it was with the hope that I might be able to help increase your awareness, understanding, and acceptance of the transgender members of our community. Maybe you, like me, have a transgender child, or maybe you know somebody who does. Maybe you are the grandparent or relative or friend of a transgender person, or maybe this is all new to you. Wherever you are coming from or going to, I hope the words I share with you tonight will be helpful. Before starting my story, let me say something about pronouns. Addressing individuals by their preferred pronoun is very important. It signifies respect and inclusion. Erin's preferred pronouns are they, them, and theirs. Throughout my talk, you will notice that I use male pronouns when I refer to Erin's earlier years, and gender-neutral pronouns when referring to Erin after they came out. Sometimes I go back and forth, especially when talking about the transitional time. More than 3 years ago, my then 20-year-old child told me they were trans. It came as a total shock. I'm a retired urologist. During my training at the University of Chicago in the 1980s, I met a number of transgender patients who were undergoing what we then called gender reassignment surgery. I became familiar and comfortable with the terminology and recognized that some people really felt that the gender that was assigned to them at birth was the wrong one. I learned that being transgender, just like being homosexual, is not a choice. It is who you are. All the patients I met back then had the same story, that of realizing at a very young age that they had been born into the wrong body. They all described their early life as confusing, lonely, and sad. But by the time I met them, towards the end of their full transition, they were well on their way to feeling healthy and whole. It was the culmination of years of living in the wrong body, then more years of proving to the medical establishment that they met the strict criteria of being allowed to transition anatomically. Their body was finally becoming what they knew it was always supposed to have been. With that experience, you would think that I, of all people, would have been well prepared to have my child come out as transgender. You would be wrong. Let me tell you a bit of Erin's story. On July 14th, 1998, I gave birth to a baby boy. I was 41 years old. I knew enough about parenting to know that it could be challenging, especially for a mom who was working well over 40 hours a week. But I had no idea what I had in store for me. Erin was a difficult infant. He had colic, and it seemed like he never stopped crying. He barely slept, day or night. It was impossible to get him on a schedule. Fortunately, his temperament improved once he was able to crawl and get around on his own volition. And then came walking, although Erin kind of skipped that in favor of running. He was a busy boy. As a toddler, Erin was all boy. He loved playing with toy trucks, cars, trains, jumping in mud puddles, getting dirty, climbing to the top of the monkey bars at the playground, and then jumping off. He was also a happy child, even though his impulsivity and high activity level frequently got him into trouble. He loved to learn, and all his teachers noted that he was extremely bright. And yet he struggled in school. He was diagnosed with ADHD in kindergarten. Medication helped a lot, but it was no panacea. He also had trouble with fine motor skills and motor planning. As school progressed and the kids started growing up, Aaron struggled to fit in. He was quirky and seemed unaffected by any peer pressure. He always marched to the beat of his own drummer. Aaron made it through middle school and early high school with the help of many tutors and some accommodations for his documented learning disabilities. It was in high school that Aaron was additionally diagnosed with a severe nonverbal learning disorder. Midway through junior year, Aaron transferred from the public high school to Lydian Academy, a very small private school in Menlo Park, which uses one-on-one teaching exclusively. Lydian was a much better fit. And in the fall of 2016, Aaron started college at Lawrence University in Appleton, Wisconsin, a small liberal arts school and music conservatory that seemed to be perfect for him. The school is excellent. Unfortunately, Aaron's social and academic struggles continued. Aaron came out as being genderqueer during the fall of his junior year in college. As I've already said, it came as quite a shock to me. I had not seen any signs leading up to this. There had been one time late in his sophomore year that he mentioned having worn a skirt. When I asked him why, he said, I just wanted to see what it felt like. And when I asked him how it felt, he said, comfortable. And then there was the summer between sophomore and junior year when Aaron took a Russian immersion course at Beloit College. The class planned an outing to a traditional Russian restaurant in Chicago where they would enact a mock Russian wedding. Aaron was really excited and went shopping for a special outfit. The next day, he sent me a picture of himself in a blue strapless sequin dress, face made up, and ballerina slipper shoes on his feet. I felt the floor drop out from under me. Is my son trans? When I asked Aaron, he said no. He just thought it would be fun to dress up as a woman. Oh, okay. I was used to Aaron being quirky and different. Aaron returned to Lawrence for fall term of junior year and was excited about taking 2 education courses. He had decided that he wanted to become an elementary school teacher. I was thrilled that Aaron had found a career that engaged his interest and passion. But there was a problem. Each of the courses required that he complete a student teaching practicum at an elementary school in town. Aaron couldn't bring himself to make the arrangements. I was used to Aaron's frequent procrastination, but this was something entirely different. It turned out that by this time, Aaron was primarily dressing in feminine clothes, and he recognized that showing up in a dress in elementary school in northern Wisconsin would not be an option. When I said, why don't you just wear men's clothes to do your practicums? Aaron insisted that he needed to remain true to himself. And being true to himself meant wearing dresses. So he didn't do the practicums and never finished the courses. Mark and I were vacationing in Kauai in late October when Aaron called me with some news. I was in an ABC store shopping for souvenirs after a lovely day of snorkeling on the North Shore. Not one for small talk, Aaron came right out and just told me, Mom, I'm trans. I don't remember anything else from that conversation, although Mark recalls me telling him that Aaron had decided to leave school, come home, and transition. We talked a little more the next day, and at Aaron's request, I spoke to his academic advisor. From her, I learned that Aaron had been wearing feminine clothes much of the term, and that he was doing very poorly in all of his classes. He needed to take a leave of absence. A few days later, Aaron was back home. I had to get used to the fact that my son no longer identified as being my son. I had to get used to the sight of my boy dressing as a woman. And I had to get my son help to get out of the deep depression that they were in. I also had to learn to use gender-neutral pronouns. It has been more than 3 years, and I still slip up. My knowledge and experiences should have made it easier for me. Okay, my son was now going to be my daughter. That's going to be hard, but at least I know what it means. Except it turned out that it wasn't that simple. Erin identifies as non-binary, neither male nor female. Erin believes that gender is a stupid social construct and people shouldn't be put into boxes based on their genitalia or their chromosomes. Humans, Erin explains to me, are simply people, and they need the freedom to present as their spirit moves them and be attracted to another person based on that person as a whole, with no regard to anyone's gender or sexual orientation. This was a whole different kind of trans, very different from everything I had known up to this point. This was going to be even harder than I could ever imagine. Erin already had enough challenges in their life and enough trouble fitting in. Were they ever going to be able to find a community willing to accept them, find a life partner, and would they be safe? Erin had already been bullied in elementary school. Adult bullying can be far more dangerous. And when you are clearly a man, complete with facial hair and a deep voice, wearing a dress, it is hard to be out in public and not have people stare at you, or at least look twice. What public bathrooms would they use? And how were we going to explain this to our 90-year-old mothers? I initially had trouble myself. That first week or so that Erin was home, it was very difficult for me to look at them in their feminine clothes. It evoked a visceral reaction in me. This could not be my child, not my son. I was mourning the loss of my boy. Those were dark days. Not long after Erin returned home, the two of us sat down together to review the midterm election ballot. I realized as we went through the candidate statements and ballot measures and felt the familiar conflict between Erin's radical social and political leanings and mine, that we were having the kind of discussion that he and I had always had. By the time we finished, I felt different. Erin was still Erin. Their outside appearance had changed, but inside they were the same person they had always been. It was a turning point for me. It took longer for Mark. After a few months, Erin returned to Lawrence. In their suitcase was a new wardrobe. The two of us had gone shopping at a local consignment store. It wasn't easy to find a store in which Erin would feel safe to try on ladies' clothes. I scoped out the store in advance and was reassured that Erin would be welcome. And we chose a time to go when it was not likely to be busy. Turns out we were the only two customers in the store, and we had the full attention of both saleswomen. An outing that I had dreaded turned into a great, fun time. The women were incredible. They applauded Erin's bravery and were very candid about what did and didn't work. We all laughed together when one of the saleswomen told Erin that they would need to do something about their hairy legs if they wanted to wear short skirts. They would have to shave or wear dark-colored stockings or leggings. Despite the outward appearance I was exhibiting, inside I remained anxious and full of trepidation. It was easier once Erin was back in Wisconsin. With Erin away, the topic of their gender faded into the background. I began to think that maybe, just maybe, Erin could have been going through a phase, and that they would revert to being my son, and I could go back to using male pronouns. Denial can be very sneaky and very powerful. Yet I knew that it was a long shot. I was quite aware of the fact that by the time a person comes out as being genderqueer, it is rarely just a passing phase. More commonly, it is something that has been brewing inside of them for a very long time, and they've just not been ready or brave enough to share the news with their family, or even sometimes to acknowledge it to themselves. So I can't say that I was completely surprised when months later, this time I was at a Giants game, I received a text from Erin. All it said was, "Mom, I am trans." I was confused. Hadn't they already told me that? Turns out what Erin meant was that they wanted to start female hormones. They still identified as non-binary. They wanted to keep their name and their gender-neutral pronouns. They'd clearly given this a lot of thought. They said that they didn't want to become a woman, but they wanted to bring out their more feminine side. My head was spinning again. Winter break came. Erin returned home and saw their doctor. They came away from the visit in high spirits and with new pills, including estrogen. This was scary for me, but I knew that it was right for Erin. I then spent months wondering what Erin would look like when I next saw them. How quickly would the hormones work? What changes would occur? Turns out I would have to wait quite a while to see, because a couple of months into the new term, COVID struck, and Erin stayed on campus in Wisconsin for almost a full 2 years. As we all know, the last 2 years have not been easy for any of us, but for Erin, they were particularly difficult. Even though Erin was lucky enough to be one of a small number of students who were allowed to stay on campus the entire time, it was a pretty empty, lonely campus. No group meals, no in-person classes, no extracurricular activities, and the fear of contracting a potentially lethal virus. Not a good combination, especially for someone with anxiety, depression, and gender dysphoria. Grades and mood both did a nosedive. Fortunately, Erin reached a point where they recognized that they needed and wanted help. They started treatment in Wisconsin and have since returned home, where they continue the long, difficult journey to a healthier state of mind and function. I've gotten used to Erin's more feminine face and body and to their wardrobe preferences. I still do not yet completely understand the non-binary expression, but I do fully accept it. And I now view gender on a spectrum, with cisgender folks like me on either end of that spectrum. I do still worry. All of us know how cruel the world can be to those who look or act differently than whatever is considered the norm in a given place and time. Even in the bubble of the Bay Area, I know there are places where transgender individuals are probably not welcome. Erin will have to make their own choices and find their own way. It won't be easy for any of us, but while we never know what our futures hold, some things, at least for now, are starting to look just a little bit better. And for anybody that wants to stay after the service, there's going to be
Thank you so much, Jackie, for telling
You're
your
welcome.
beautiful story. I mean, the wisdom that comes from the personal experience is something that means so much to all of us. And Jackie, for all of those who are streaming, Jackie's going to sign on to the Zoom with Rabbi Morrison immediately after the service. If you want to find the link to that, it's just on the Betham webpage, right, Rachel? It's so you can find the link to the Zoom to join with Jackie, to ask her questions, to share. And then certainly, if not tonight or at other points you want to reach out to any of the clergy or to Jackie or any of the members of the Betham inclusion team, some of our board members and some of our other leaders, we'd be happy to connect you in any way. But what a beautiful tribute. There's nothing like Shabbat to tell stories. And so what a way to honor your family, this community, and the Sabbath day. I invite you to rise. If you're able, the words of Aleinu are on 282 in the middle of the page.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon hakol, latet kedula liotzer Bereshit, shelo asanu kegoye ha'aratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
You have a seat. As Rabbi Morrison mentioned earlier, tomorrow morning we'll read from Parashat Titzaveh, which talks about this idea of an eternal flame, the Ner Tamid. And as we turn towards words of Kaddish, our prayer of memory, we know that there are many people who are part of that eternal flame, those who we are thinking of. If I read the name of your loved one, I invite you to rise in his or her honor, and then I will ask our entire community to rise. Lost to the Betham community this week was Sam Strober, father of our member Jason and Joanna, father of Liz Strober and Brian Cohn, and grandfather of Sarah and Ari and Jared and Lynn. In this period of Shloshim, the 30 days since passing, we remember Helene Barnes, Marge Axelrod, Jerry Allen, Jerry Blum, Lillian Sarver, David Corman, and Jay Jackman. In this period of Yahrzeit, the anniversary since passing, we remember with love Hilda Abramson, Dennis Agay, Alan Alderman, Michael Avrutin, German Eisinger, Eleanor Azevedo, Shelem Barnstein, Darrell Berman, Henda Ben Yaakov, Arkady Barenberg, Joan Marilyn Burkett, Adele Mermelstein Brown, Eugenia Budak, Sylvia Chezin, Randy Cohan, Laura Cohn, Leonard Daly, Shirley Lieb Delheim, Carol Elias, Jules Frankel, Ray Cohn Garfinkel, Bert Gelfand, Rebecca Gelman, Abe Gerber, Marietta Gianetti, Bernice Glossman, Rose Rubenstein Gordon, Stephen Hallert, Florence Herback, Harold Hoppy, John Jeffries, Elliot Josephson, Babette Kabak, Reuven Kenowitz, Marcia Kalman, Roberta Kamen, Jeanette Kamen, Benedict Katz, Richard Kaufman, Vera Keller, Chelsea King, Helen Kraus, Daniel Levinson, Edith Levin, Morris Levinson, Mary Levy, Cy Mark, Marianne Marks, Elizabeth McCann, Hilda Moskowitz, Elizabeth Nachmias, Louise Nikravesh, Sally Nisim, Jim Oshry, Benjamin Person, Henrietta Person, Milka Rachmaninoff, Nathan Raymer, Joseph Rosenfeld, Rebecca Sack, David Sachs, Doris Schatz, Sveta Siegel, Seymour Sidesher, Ruth Seiler, Judith Shame, Mary Shapiro, Morris Scharf, Alan Spall, Elaine Schulman, Guinnessa Schwartz, Leota Silton, Helen Snyder Simmons, Harry Springer, Judith Today, Joseph Taub, Mickey Tillman, Sylvia Totter, Josephine Usau, Alice Weitzner, Sarah Westerman, Pearl Wolfs, Martin Yavitz, Ruth Zelligs. If you're thinking of somebody else whose name I didn't mention, I'll invite you to rise and share their name right now. We rise as one. 294. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach kirutei be'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvizman kariv b'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam ulmei almaya, yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithale v'yithalal shmei kusha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata b'shirata, tushbechata b'nechemata da'amiran b'yama b'imru amen. Yehi shlama Rabbah min shemaya, b'chaim aleinu b'al kol Yisrael b'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu b'al kol Yisrael b'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to all of us and to all Israel, to which we say,
Amen.
Amen.
As you know, the confrontation between Russia, Ukraine, and NATO can seem far away and not of immediate consequence. And while we have limited means to influence the outcome of the ongoing military standoff, we can make a difference in the lives of fellow Jews in Ukraine who are suffering during what has been for them a multi-year long-term crisis. For the members of our sister congregations, Congregation Beth Am of Poltava and Shirat Hayam of Odessa, the conflict is very real and has created dire economic circumstances. And as members of Congregation Beth Am, we uphold the value of Klal Yisrael, that we as Jews have a shared stake in each other's lives and in the growth and flourishing of worldwide Jewish communities. The members of Shirat Hayam in Odessa and of Congregation Beth Am of Poltava are part of our extended Beth Am family. They need our material assistance during this crucial period in their lives. They need our help. And so for the rest of the month of February, our tzedakah box will be dedicated to supporting our sister congregations. And in the coming weeks, we will share with you additional opportunities to learn about this crisis and to support these two congregations in Ukraine. So I urge you to give generously. You can do so through our website or through Venmo. I want to remind you, too, that after services, you can, I guess, if you'd like to stay, you can stay right where you are, and both Mark and Jackie will be joining me. We'll have a laptop here to guide us. Rabbi Weissman just went to begin the Zoom, the foyer. That's why she's stepped out. But there'll be an opportunity to ask questions and to have a conversation with Mark and Jackie.
And the Introduction to Judaism class, you have the same Zoom link, but sign on. We'll start the Introduction to Judaism class Shabbat in about 5 minutes.
So, all right. We conclude with the singing of Od Yavo on page 321 or 625. Please rise.
Okay.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kulam. Od Yavo Shalom
special thanks to Jacob Richter on piano, Jay Russoff on drums. Thank you so
Cantor.
much. Yeah,
Who you got? You got Rams or Bengals? We got to know.
I guess the Rams. I am from LA.
And Rabbi
so-
Morrison?
Just Bengals.
Bengals. That's the right
Rams.
answer.
Rams.
Join us together in Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz
Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Mazel tov. Mazel tov.